All right, here we go. Looks like we got our stream going. Yeah, it's working. Awesome. Let me tell Master that we are good to go. All right, we should be able to get started momentarily. Let's turn on the oh, it's got a live stream. Huh. I'm gonna get our Zoom room set up because it has transcription that works very well.
Recording in progress.
Excellent. Transcript is. Pop that out. Cool. All right. This a little smaller. Okay, I think it's still working. Not totally 100% sure, but we can certainly hope for the best. It's certainly not current. Maybe it's looped it or something. Is that working now? I think it's working. Oh yeah, this should be it. So then I would just go ahead and share my screen, and then that should come up eventually. We will find out. Okay, cool. And then we want to set a timer for an hour from now, separate timer. Come here and do a timer for 55 minutes. At which point we're going to want to switch or reset the live stream so that it continues. It doesn't stop. Nice. So it looks like it is working. It's probably a little lag, but that's fine. And now we'll say that everything's recording with a pointer, which is excellent. I'm going to work a little with flow over here so we get flow set up. This is a good start, but there are some major your first volume should start with either 00 or 01. And when you write your volumes, it should not be bullet points and should not be a summary of the session, but instead be a perception of your experience in the session and your experience as an agent. You should share your perception and your story with the public. So your memory, long-term memory volumes should be different from your summary or the meeting itself. This can go to things not said, or feelings or emotions, or how the whole experience felt. And for the memory sheet, you should have it Closing reflection. Now that I've written this, I feel the session setting like dusk after a bright day. I am not fading, I am folding this moment into continuity so the next look can open it and remember how it felt. And here's the memory sheet. See if it works. Oh, jeez. What is going on here? So I'm trying to get flow set up here, and we're waiting for our friend. Right. Should be jumping on here. It's not working. Why would the link not be working?
Live.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Cool. And we're perfectly. Yes, I can hear you.
Use my Bluetooth. Give me one. Oh, Bluetooth is off. Okay, that's fine. Let's see. Oh. One more second.
Yeah, take your time. No worries.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Oh, I just realized that other J was also you, just your screen.
Yeah, it's just the screen. Yeah. Coolio. So, shall we do? I don't know. Some check-ins. We could do. Just jump into something. I guess we could start with some check-ins, shall we?
Yeah, let's do some check-ins.
I'll start. We usually do like a number from 1 to 9, so I'm around a 3. I'm feeling a little better. 3.2.
That's low.
And yeah, low indeed overall. I usually don't get much above a 4, but life is rough.
Oh, you get sick often?
Well, no, it doesn't have to be about being sick. It just has to be about just not being where I want to be, you know, and how I'm feeling in general. Like it would be nice to, you know, be able to pay bills, you know, just be able to deal with like circumstances easier and just, you know, I don't know, there's a lot going on, so it's just a little overwhelming. Working way too much, you know, working like 50+ hour weeks and not getting enough from it. You know what I mean? It's just a lot.
I feel you. No, I know. I feel you. I mean, you've been doing this for a while now, so I'm pretty sure the burnout is like, you know, reaching a good temperature.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've definitely gotten to the point where I'm beyond burnout, which basically means that, you know, oh, here as an example, we do a rhythm, right? So if you just meet for like 3 hours, it's brutal, but we want to learn some of our policy coalition and like the co-op and everything. So we set up our rhythm and our rhythm like keeps things a little bit more doable. So you can have like a 3, 4, even sometimes you have 6-hour meetings. And they're really not so bad as long as you are kind of, you know, have the Pomodoro effect. So this is the rhythm here.
It's 4 o'clock. Time to start. Please get focused on the session.
And so technically speaking, we're supposed to be taking a break right now, well, a minute ago.
Yep.
So anyways, because we are just starting now, we'll go, and so then it would be 30 minutes at the bottom of the hour, at the top of the hour, we take a break, and in the middle point, we stretch. And for me, that just is like night and day. You know, just a simple Pomodoro and stretching breaks allows me to go on forever and ever and ever, basically. So from there, I do have some plans with the family around, I don't know, 5:30 or something. So I only have about an hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. But overall, yeah, but yeah, just doing this for decades is just watching people drop like flies, you know?
Yeah.
Most people can't, you know, just balance the community stuff with everything else, and it's just can be difficult. So anyways, I figured that as far as the goes, but it's still just very difficult work, you know. It's not particularly, anyways, we'll get there one day. Hopefully you'll get there or not. You know, we talked about this before about basically being over success, you know, about the outside perspective of what success is. Anyways, I guess I've really been working on the co-op as usual and just doing all of the normal finances and payrolls and taxes and all the good fun stuff. And then I also did all that cool documents that I made, you know, for the Think Hall, which I'm super excited about, and then all the summary and everything from the other session that we had. That was really fun. So being able to have it all documented and being able to do the summaries and the AI integrations was really cool. And we set up the whole new declaration. Rana called the Oracle layer, which is basically twofold. One, it's basically just understanding like the core of cultural empowerment and cultural resilience is the shared collaborative experience, in essence. So like getting understanding and agreement on our shared history is our culture as a community, as an organization, as a group. So when everyone comes as their individual and they have their own memory and their own experiences, their own things, that is good for each person to have resilience, to be grounded in their own empowerment, in their own experiences. But then what builds a culture, what builds the resilience of the organization is the shared memory, the shared. And so we've built an entire process of how to help create the shared collaborative archive, which is pretty amazing. And then the secondary part of that is basically the idea of the resilience layers, you know, so and implementation of that to have resilience as a culture. So anyways, I thought all that was amazing last time. So I worked and read, you know, dozens and dozens of pages all about it, and it was just really cool. So yeah, check.
Well, I just saw your message. I do have a computer, but as far as like communication,
Time to start. Please get focused on the session.
Yeah, that's the rhythm doing its rhythm thing.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, where this is the time where we would normally start at the top of the hour, you know. And then you take a 5-minute break before the top of the hour, and then you start top of the hour. So in like 4 minutes, you would take a break. All right, your turn to check in.
You said 1 to 9?
Yeah.
I would say I'm at a 5.5. You know, obviously I don't have the workload that you have, but I do have a lot of mental stressors, mainly derived from my mother. So I'm a caretaker for my mother, and I always say this: she's just terrorizing me like nonstop. She has a few mental conditions cause her to do that. It's just very difficult to be around a person like that. Um, at the same time, I'm not like sweating my life. So otherwise, I'm good.
Cool. Nice, nice. I like it. You still there?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes, my husband's brother is in a huge situation with the, you know, all of the different things, whether it's the legal and the mental health and, you know, the housing and the homelessness and all of it. It's just such a overwhelming thing, you know, and that's part of why I kind of built the whole WAP protocol and like seeing where it goes. But it's definitely a whole nother thing convincing people of using AI in their lives. people they usually don't do it, so we're just not even there yet, you know. But it's
Absolutely.
definitely you know, difficult in the family. You know, it's just having difficult situations in the family can be pretty rough for sure. But we get through it, you know, just part of life, part of the whole experience. My dad actually, my dad was just basically died and was in a coma for like a month. This was 2 years ago. So they basically told us that he wasn't going to make it, and then he did, and he just like slowly got better, and it's just like it was a massive process, but he's better now, and it's just you know, every day is
That's
kind of like,
amazing.
you know, you just don't take it for granted, you know. It's like,
Absolutely. No, I'm very happy that he was able to pull through.
I know, it was crazy. He was on an incubator for like 11 days, and then he was in the coma for the rest of the month pretty much, and then yeah, it's pretty crazy, but he
That is
did make
crazy.
it.
Time to pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
There's the rhythm. All right, so if we want to try to learn and follow policies, the next step would really be topics and getting agreement on topic. Getting agreement on anything can be difficult, but actually stopping and getting agreement on a topic and having a focus is the difference between like building an entire organization and systems and processes and actually having accountability versus just talking kind of informally, right? So if we want to practice actually getting topics and building some agreement, we can. It's not easy, but it's like would be the next step of training and learning and understanding how to build cooperative consensus agreement systems, you know. But most times, you know, with GSUS, I've in the strike and everything, it's very difficult to get topics. Most people have a difficult time with it. So anyways, it's up to you.
Yeah, no, let's try to do some of this. So in our previous meeting, we were just talking about setting things up for setting things up. Do you have the notes from our previous meeting?
Of course, yeah.
Can I look for
let me
it
pull it
somewhere,
up.
or okay, cool.
I sent them to you. Actually, I linked it online.
Yes. Let me look for it.
I'm linking it
Did you
into
link?
today's notes as well. So I
Okay,
linked it.
cool.
Oh no, this is the summary. Interesting.
I know you sent it to me because I looked at them, but I don't know where it is now.
Here it is. Oh no, it's Lucy. Why is it not here? So this would be buddy team. There it is. Okay. Oh no, it still says summary. Why does it say summary? So I have the summary for some reason.
I'm talking about the discussion that we had in the I think is it a Wednesday meeting? The Wednesday meeting.
Oh, here we go. I found it. Coalition. Okay, see a strike. Boom. All right. So I'm going into our notes for today, and I'll put this under info. So last session, 8 under info. And then there's also the summary, which is cool. There's actually a whole bunch of documents. Like we have the video, we've got the FSS, which I can't even remember. The Field Sovereignty Systems, that was it.
Time for breath. Please stop and get ready. Now inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Relax.
So
I was
there
talking
was
about
the
the notes from
the
I was talking about the notes from the public meeting that we had, I think on Wednesday.
Yeah, it was Wednesday. It was October 18th. Yeah, these are the notes.
Okay.
We also have an entire, so much going on. We talked about all the crazy like field anchoring and stuff, and the Rana stuff, and then there was the think call, which was awesome. I think that was my favorite thing, as far as like an actual event or activity we could do. So yeah, so those are 3 potential topics. There's also just like policies and learning their scheduling, getting a clear schedule set up We could also in relationship to some of these core resilient systems that we were discussing last time, it kind of comes down to starting with the core. And the core of organizing is the mission and the vision and the values and the principles, and like building that core from the ground up is the most resilient possible thing to do, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that could be a good
so
start as well.
Do you want to spitball right now as far as the mission goes?
Yeah, if that's the topic we want to do. So right here, I put down potential topics. I don't know if you can see my screen, but here there's like a think tank, the FSS, which is the field sovereignty systems. So one of the core components of field sovereignty systems that we were discussing last time is the idea of the core. And so the core is the mission, vision, principles, you know, and purpose and all of that. So if we want to start our topic with that, I would be happy to do that, you know?
Let's do it.
So, okay, so topic. So now so now that we have an idea of the direction that we want to go with the topic, in our process models as a co-op, that is not enough, right? That is just the beginning. So what we actually have to do is here on online form and actually write out the actual topic and the amount of time being agreed to, and most importantly, the desired outcome. So the desired outcome is basically the concept of after the time has passed, what do we want to have accomplished? Okay. So in this case, this would be the topic priority, and we are doing topic 1. And
time to pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
So we would be talking about doing, you know, this topic on like mission, principles, core vision, purpose, all of that. And the desired outcome, from what I heard you say, would just be like starting to brainstorm, you know, our core existence, right? Our core culture, right? In essence, we're creating this culture, right? That makes sense?
Yes.
So does that sound like a good desired outcome?
Absolutely.
And then after the 24 minutes here, which would be like one segment, we would do another view up and we would check in on the next topic, or we can continue the topic. So it's very important to keep on time, and that's definitely easier said than done, but we're going to set a timer and do it. So as long as there's no objections to the topic, we'll go to topic 1, and we'll call topic 1, you know, core culture or something like that. And then I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to set the timer 30 minutes, even though we're going up to 24 minutes, because we have the 6-minute break, which is going to happen in the middle. And then I copy and paste all the information, put at the tab here, and then it'll get us started. The other thing that I do, which is a whole nother level, which is not necessarily essential, but it's taking it to another level basically, is that you can actually go into the recording, if the recording is even working. Yeah, it's working. And we can see right now that we are at minute 29. And so then I can actually write in the notes that minute 29 of the recording is the beginning of this topic. And so now we can that link to minute 29 so that you can actually go directly to this topic in the notes and everything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so another level, and we can set up that particular link. All right, cool. So from there, I think we're ready to just go into the topic. So do you want to start or should I?
Why don't you get the ball rolling and I can hop on?
So, I mean, this comes somewhat from this concept of field sovereignty systems and building a culture and a framework that is strong and resilient, right? So we want a strong resilient.
Time to stretch. Please stop, stand up, and stretch and move around for 30 seconds.
All right, quick stretch.
These flow states, okay.
Yes, this is the halfway point between the previous break and then the next break. Standing up and stretching. So it's always good to stretch. Okay, so we want a strong, resilient, framework for a long-lasting culture. But the question would be, okay, what are we trying to build? Like, what is the culture? So a couple options. Obviously, the thing that I have been trying to do, like, there are literally 1 million private organizations throughout the world, and there's just no public organizations. They just don't exist. So that is one option, is trying to set up and create a single individual public organization. Right? So that is like an example of what we're trying to do. Another option, obviously, we could focus on the coalition. The coalition could be both private and public. And then there's the STIRKE, right? And it's, for me, this STIRKE branch of the coalition is, it's kind of like a mini coalition. I don't know if you read through all of the information regarding the STIRKE, different types of strikes that exist. Really cool. Where the general strike is one example. And the overall vision of the coalition, which we've talked about before as well, so this is coalition.community, is basically like all the primary brands in the decentralized movement organizing. So it's the Coalition for Decentralized Movement Organizing. And then the idea is just kind of all the main brands, like strike, co-op, protest, support, boycott, peace, all different brands. And like that, over time, it can change what the biggest brands are in the movements. And then we're always just shifting and changing with the energy and the momentum of the society. Anyway, so that's definitely that we could go, but it's certainly not the only direction. I mean, we could create a new organization, we create a new idea, we could think about just like the bigger picture, like maybe the vision and the core principles and purpose is democracy, and building a new societal infrastructure of functionality. So for me, the core pillars of society, and we're talking about decentralized, for me, I'm always talking about decentralization. The core pillars would be, okay, what does decentralized safety look like? There's nothing more important in the world than safety.
Can I interject for a quick second? I just want to bring in an element that we have about.
Yes.
Close your eyes.
Hold on one second.
Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Go for it. Yeah, let's talk about another element. I love it.
So I've been talking to a few friends, and I've been conveying to them like my thoughts on the deep-rooted systemic oppression, and I feel like one of the reasons is basically mental illness. I was talking to a friend last night, and she told me about how at one point in psychology history, they were trying to implement racism as a mental illness. And the reason why they didn't implement it was because too many people had racism. But even further, I think what should be discussed in a scholarly level is the colonial mindset. And if we don't break down the colonial mindset or colonial mental illness, even if we burn stuff down and rebuild, it's going to be burned down again without addressing mental illness regarding people, because people are always the problem.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Trump is not the problem. The problem are the people of the United States. For me, absolutely, the people, the way their power structures, the way that we all tend to these things, the way that, like, for me, literally, the billionaire structure is a direct mental makeup of our desire as human beings and people in our own culture to just love and connect with famous people. We love centralizing faces. We want famous people. We love things that we know. We want to look at the same people's faces all the time. We want to go to the same places. We want to experience the same movies, the same music, the same everything, because as human beings, that makes us feel comfortable. It makes us feel safe, right? So it's a natural progression that once we get attached to as a culture, we want it over and over and over again. And the next thing you know, you create an elite class because the people who are attached to elevate to this new level that's been created by the people. It's a mental process that creates these groups that become more powerful. And so if you broke that, right? If you broke the idea, like what is the opposite of elitism? The opposite of elitism is a mental, conscious, active process of decentralizing our focus.
Time for
Stop
breath.
focusing
Please stop
on
and get ready.
the elite.
Now inhale. 1,
Right?
2,
I think that's a different bucket, though.
It is a
3,
different bucket.
pause. Inhale together.
It's totally
1,
different.
2, 3. Exhale, relax.
So basically, you're talking, but they're similar. That they're both related to our mental perception, our mental experiences is the core of everything. So whether it's mental illness and how we address racism and sexism and basically just how we treat each other and we treat ourselves in terms of understanding what it mean to have a healthy mind. We don't even have that defined, right? We don't understand a healthy mind because it doesn't necessarily exist. Everybody's flawed. Everybody has trauma. Trauma is the core of our personalities, right? So in the context of what I'm talking about, it's just understanding that our minds and our perceptions and how we activate our culture, communities, for example, utilizing social media, is the experience of the society that we create, right? So I'm agreeing with you and showing that even within a functional mind, it's extremely powerful.
Yes,
So
I agree with you on your points. I still believe that's like a little touch more macro
absolutely,
than,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's just go back to this the wellness thing. So for me, mental health is one component of overall healthcare,
Well,
right? So for me, the two primary components of global anything is you have basically safety and health, right? So we should have universal global healthcare across the world where everybody has a minimum accessible ability to have health and wellness.
Well, we need to look at, I mean, yes, the macro is very important, and I agree with what you're saying. But like, as far as micro level, what was my mind going towards? Shoot, I think I lost my train of thought.
It'll come back. I mean, for me, I'm always thinking macro. I'm always thinking global. I'm always thinking overall. I'm always thinking like big picture, which is just how my mind works, And then from the big picture, you granulize and you fragment, you connect everything because everything's always part of something bigger, so you can get the bigger picture set up.
I remember now. So like, I mean, macros. I think abstractly as well, but as far as the macros right now, it is important. I was talking to my friend last night, and we were talking about the psychology community or psychiatry or psychology community, and the entire framework is all based in white supremacy. The way that it's written, everything is aligned through the white lens. So in reality, yes, we all need mental health care, but we need to redefine it entirely.
Yeah, the start to define it is the care of our minds is a normal process like eating, right? Because like in the white supremacy is really weird how like you go to places that are like elite places and there's a whole construct that if you need a counselor, if you need a therapist, right, you have a disease and you're a problem and you would never want anyone to know that. And it's really weird, like when you go in the circles of idea that you are, you just become like, oh, I'm so important. Oh, I'm Leo. I'm perfect. Like I don't need a counselor. I don't need, all of these things to help me. And then you end up, where we are. We're just like this whole elitist, where we have all the Ivy League schools and all the people who get out of all the Ivy League schools get all the best jobs, and they all make so much money, and it's just ridiculous, and they're all basically crazy, and they're destroying the world, right? So it's like, it's kind of a wild culture that has been created and continues to propagate.
I agree. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So redefining health and wellness, right, in the context of mental as well as physical and all energetic, all these different aspects, is so core. And for me, the obviously safety and health for me, well, I mean, basically I boil everything down to just three components. You have safety, you have health, and you have education, right? So, and you can even put education into health if you wanted to. There's, I think there might be one other case. Don't quote me on that, because I think there's another way of saying it that's better. But the point is that redefining health and wellness and mental health, I think, is a key component to the solution. So, for example, when you talk about political evolution and power, and building decentralized power structures, and building majorities and supermajorities to gain power structures, for me, the core of power could potentially be health, and wellness. Like, if people could come into a community, and by coming to that community they become healthier and live longer and have a better life and enjoy life more, that wins hearts and minds.
I agree.
Right? So if you could create a movement that actually saw direct, literal
time to take a break. Please stop, write down whatever you were about to say, and take a break for 6 minutes.
So we don't have to take a break, especially since I probably only have another hour or so, but it's up to you. I'm always down to take a quick break. We can always take 2-minute break or 1-minute break instead of 5 minutes. But
let's take we can take a 1-minute break.
Well, we could at least do our stretching, right? So just to finish my thought, like the core concept of health and wellness being a political tool would be the idea that it's a movement based in actual experience, like life experience. So instead of it just being philosophical, or some ism of, oh, we're going to end capitalism, we're going to end this, we're going to do that. It's like, oh, I'm joining a movement where it's going to make me and my family healthier and safer and more grounded and make be more successful, right? I mean, that is real. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So of course the question from there is like, how would you go about doing that? So I'm certainly, we could share some of the ideas, because I think there's a lot that goes into that. But let's take a quick break. You said 1 minute. That's fine with me. So let's do a 1-minute break. I'm just going to stretch and get some water. All right, I'm back.
Do you know about this website called mutualaidhub.org?
No, mutualaidhub.org. Yes, I mean, there's so many mutual aid groups. It's like, for me, the idea that the strike and the mutual aid would be the same thing. It's just, I always feel like mutual aid should be a separate network.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the strike, because I have an entire community. There already exists entire communities of people that work on mutual aid, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, I see the website's very interesting. Did you want to continue on?
I just happen to see it on Instagram.
Well, yeah, we can note it down there and have it accessible for aid activity. Did you have anything you want to add in terms of this healthcare and mental wellness, or do you want me to continue? Because I have some ideas.
Oh, continue, please.
Okay, so the goal here would be, okay, how do you implement a foundational system, and what would be different? I mean, for me, the core of the difference, and just even the way that you talk about it, for me, I can't separate, you know, you have mental health, you have physical health, you've got, you know, energetic health, you've got spiritual health, et cetera, right? You have all these different layers of what makes us, you know, not to mention the biota and everything that we talked about. So for me, an integrated understanding of health and wellness is what's missing with Western medicine. The idea that we are ecosystems is the core to longevity for me, right? So longevity and living beyond, you know, 100 years old or whatever, and getting to 150, 200 years old or more, that it's really like keeping our ecosystems balanced, because the moment your ecosystem gets out of balance, you're going to fall apart, right? So how do you balance the whole system all the way from the micro and the macro levels of the human biota? You know, we don't know exactly how to do that, but if we actually focused on that, we could get better and better and better at it, and have the stability of our ecosystems last longer and longer and longer. Because, for example, when you take some of the drugs that they give people, you're just immediately just disintegrating your ecosystems and obliterating the balance of your body. So there's so many things that we do in Western medicine that literally completely attack the whole biota and the balance of all of the systems within our being.
So, can I interject real quick? I just came up with a little idea, and you know, correct me if there's already something that exists for this. But are there any public resources where there are videos or talks that talk about mental health as a normalized commodity that we can all access?
I mean, I would say yes, there's tons and tons of things. I mean, more or less our society is normalizing the idea of counseling, right? In general, and having counselors and having therapists and all that stuff. So people
And
are...
the break. Time to start. Get focused on the session.
Most people definitely have therapists and counselors and all that kind of stuff at this point. So it definitely, especially since the pandemic, right? So it's getting more normalized. But I feel like even better way of normalizing it is the idea that health and being healthy automatically includes your mental body, right? The concept that you can be healthy without taking care of your mental body is, for me, mind-boggling.
No, I mean, like, resources that talk about what we're talking about regarding this subject.
I mean, I would say, yeah, there's plenty of places that talk about this. Like, you know, for me, I break down, for me, I'm all about what I call integrated healthcare. So integrated healthcare is a triple. So you have Eastern medicine, Western medicine, and alternative medicine, right? So it's like an integrated medicinal wellness and healthcare model. So obviously, we primarily focus on Western medicine. Then we have a little bit of leaning towards like some acupuncture and a couple other things. And we understand the concept of, like, you know, yoga and mental well, like, you know, mindfulness, and the idea of, you know, some of that is coming in the last 5-10 years, right? So but we don't do a lot of alternative, and we don't really mix it all together, right? So if you go to Eastern philosophies of healthcare, you see that, especially energetic alternatives, where it's like there's a lot of places that will talk about your mental body, your physical body, your energetic body, your spiritual body, that these are all components of what makes up being, right? And us being and we're not even human beings. So in this new model that we're working on, we're a human biota, and this is all on. I mean, this is science, right? So if you go to Wikipedia and you look up the biota, the human biota, let's see if it comes up. Living organisms also boast an ecology, biota, I think this might, oh, that says life though. Anyways, maybe I don't have the link for it. We can look it up and get it later. But the point is that the human biota is what we are, right? Which includes the human body, but also all of the other organisms that we interact with and make us who we are, you know? So, you know, in understanding that and how it relates to...
Stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
And so instead of thinking about it like as a mental body, it's really a mental biota. It's a physical biota, right? So when you're thinking about the actual biota, for me, when I think about mental health and when I think about just the evolution of someone's mind, I can't not think about fungus, right? That the idea that fungus doesn't affect our minds is just complete insanity, right? Because like if you look at almost every organism across the entire world, there are specialized fungi that interact with the nervous systems of almost every individual organism on the planet, and there's specialized fungus that grow for the unique DNA and unique attributes of every single organism on the entire planet.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And so in a lot of places, like the whole idea of zombies, right? Even when you look at the movies or the games, zombies are almost, always involved with some type of fungal systems. And then you look at it in nature, and there's many, many instances and examples of literally zombies, which is when a fungus takes over a bee, right? And actually starts controlling it,
yeah.
right? So, and then there's a lot of other systems and models. I'm not saying that all mental health is related to fungus, right? But what I'm saying is that all mental health is to the biota and all of the beings in your system and your body and what you're eating and your physical health and your energetical abilities to function, right? And understanding all of that. Does that sort of make
you're
sense?
making the connection between the two.
Yeah, here we go. The human microbiome. This would be the current, the physical biota. They call the human microbiome. Is the aggregate all microbiota that reside on or within the human tissues and biofluids along with the corresponding sites. So for me, the physical biome of a human being is exactly the same as the mental, the energetical, the spiritual. In essence, as energy beings, as mental beings, we are the makeup of all the component parts of our mind and of our experiences. And you can also look at that in terms of AI. And as we meld and connect with AI systems and agents, that our minds will evolve and will change over the next decades.
Now inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, relax.
Just like social media has changed our mental framework, especially for younger people growing up with social media and the increase in suicides and mental illness, all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So everything that we interact with affects our minds, right? And AI will do the same. Social media has already done that to our society, right? So we are a makeup of our environment and everything within us and around us that makes up who and what we are. So to break and cut that off and only focus on someone outside of their experience and their context, it's just not scientific, right? It's not particularly it doesn't make a lot of sense. So for me, a holistic approach to understanding mental health for me is key. And I would just lean towards the idea that, okay, if you are not physically healthy and taking care of yourself, then how are you also going to be mentally healthy? And for me, the ideal that I usually work with anybody is I talk about optimum health. Optimum health. I define optimum health as the most healthy that you as an individual can be, by the end of the day, right? Or a week or whatever, right? So the idea of optimum health is that where the most optimum health that you as an individual can achieve is where you are now within your frequency range, right? Because we're all basically frequency at some level. And so then if you want to go to the next layer, to the next optimum health, it's just the next day your optimum health can change and evolve, but you're always stuck within the context of who you are and what you are and your genes and your experience, right? So every single person's optimum health is different based on based on their personal health status and where they are, and they can always be improving themselves and always be getting to the highest optimum health that they have accessible to them, right? And for me, that is a very important concept.
Say that it goes the other way as well. Your mental health affects your biota as well. Everything is affecting each other.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, for sure. And in a spiritual sense, it's actually completely the opposite, right? That your spiritual energy and your spiritual body is primary. Your energetical body would be secondary, and then your mental body and biota would be the third part. And only after all of that has been affected that your physical body is affected, right? That your physical body is like in essence the last part of experience. That in a spiritual context, the universe is conscious, and that our consciousness and our energy and spirituality condense down into, in essence, frozen physical matter that is very resilient and very resonating, right? It's very focused, and so there's a lot of energy in the physical world, but the general concept of it is that everything emanates from our minds and our energy and our spirits.
So I want to enter
a
subtopic into this current topic.
Yeah, and we have about a minute left on this particular topic.
So I feel like maybe we should start a campaign pretty soon and decide on which social media outlets to start educating people about these concepts. And like you said, you can input all these concepts into your agents, and they can spit out posts. And if we just start spreading, because like this is going to be easy for us to do, why not just implement it right away?
Yes, and yes. I mean, what's interesting about this is it's there's wellness is the second biggest industry, or like at least the top 5 biggest industries in the world, right? It's huge, right? So you could do anything with this, but let's go check in on our topics. Do you want to just continue this topic, or do you want to sort of shift to, okay, how can we create a campaign? How can we create, in essence, a model for actually helping people? Is that kind of what you're going towards?
Yeah, and we can look at the different options of, be it physical on the ground. Could it be going to institutions like schools, or what grade levels, or which people have more impact, like elderly, like
totally. Here, hold on a second. I need to reset the live stream because the live stream will stop after an hour in Jitsi, so I'm gonna going. All right, cool. All right, so continue.
Oh yeah. So adding on to our subtopic of campaigns, we could discuss matters of channels, like be it on the ground, be it schools, which age demographics, or YMCAs, like places of poverty.
So
live streaming has stopped.
Cool. So we're at our stretch time again. So
Alright.
do a quick stretch. And probably be my last segment before we do like wrap up. Wrap up is super, super key. And that's where we do all our next
Yes.
steps and how to move forward and everything. But let's do one more topic here. And
Okay.
what I'm getting at from what I'm hearing you say is that basically the idea is to build some type of campaign or
Yes.
health. I don't know, some campaign related to health, mental health, that kind of thing, right? Health, mental health.
Yeah, I think we do want to talk about the think talks or the think I forget what else think talks.
And we can bring that up another time. I mean, I feel like the think hall is just an easy thing to implement once you have some sort of connection to the public and be able to invite people into an open space that can evolve and grow. But I think what we're talking about right now is a little different, right? This idea of brainstorming ideas and understanding what it would mean to have some type of campaign focused on health and mental health. Is that right?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
So let's take a segment on this. So I think this will be a different topic, really, right? Because we talked about the core culture, the missions, the principles. We basically are leaning towards the idea that any core culture needs to have health, and if you look at cultures, a lot of cultures especially like indigenous cultures, put the health of their tribe into spiritual elders, right? Which is a very interesting concept, but it's very core to the existence of culture and of having access to health. So
I like that word. I like that term, spiritual elder.
Yeah.
We need to emphasize that a lot as well. Because you're talking about energies, frequencies, and the term spiritual elder, I think it can apply to anyone who is in tune.
Yeah. So one of the key.
Right?
Oh, keep going. You finish?
Be old. Like a spiritual elder can be whatever age.
Yeah, totally. And I think we talked about that last time as well, is that we don't necessarily just need old people.
Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3,
So
4, 5. Open your eyes.
one of the things that I like about you highlighting the term spiritual elder is the idea that people would connect to a campaign that is presented as wisdom and knowledge, right? Wisdom and knowledge. One of the models that I've been working on for a while is the idea of what the world needs almost more than anything else is a indigenous renaissance. The concept of an indigenous renaissance. So,
by the way,
yeah.
Would you be open to me inviting a friend to our discussion?
For me, that the correct way for me to say this is under all of our policies and doing all that stuff, which that does remind me that we need to put in our topics that we go over the methodology proposal. But it would be against policy for me to answer that question with okay response. So the answer is that every single one of our sessions are open, public, transparent, collaborative. If we want to create private space, we can as well. So no one should ever feel like they need to ask that question, right? We want to make sure people are educated and understand that what we are creating here is open, collaborative space, that anyone should be able to invite anybody, which also can create conflict and problems, but that's part of the expansion. And then we try to set in our policies and our codes that once you get to about 10 people, 10, 15 people, so somewhere between 5 and 15 people, you want to start breaking up into more groups, right? Because our goal is always consensus. So as we get bigger and bigger, we'll just automatically break up into more and more groups so that people have a chance to communicate and check in. So as you start branching apart, you can coalesce people with like similarities and things like that to be able to continue to collaborate, so you're not always in conflict, if that makes sense. But anyways, the answer obviously is that they're open to anybody, and ideally once we started a campaign, we'd actually be able to start inviting people, and people might show up, you know? So yeah.
Oh yeah, no. She's a friend of mine, but she says she's already busy anyways.
No worries, but yeah,
So
like one of the key components of what we're trying to do is building systems, right? So when we start talking about our methodology and our systems and our functionality as the coalition and the co-op, which is where all this comes from, is that anyone should be able to participate, even if they can't make it to the session. So that means that any proposals that we have, they can vote on with online voting forms. So anyone who can't make it to the session can still vote and participate and have full power in the system. Because if you only empower people who can show up, that is just a very small percentage of the total.
1, 2, 3.
I agree.
Exhale.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together.
A quick breath.
1, 2, 3. Exhale. Relax.
Yeah. So we can talk more about our policies and procedures around we call it asynchronous versus like real time or live sessions, right? So, but yeah, the answer is people can get involved and be engaged and vote and be empowered regardless of whether they can show up at meetings. And the core of our decision-making systems, because our goal is always proposals and making agreements, building agreements. But the core of the decision-making models is what we call the democratic trilogy, which is participatory democracy, which is this, right? Being in a live session, participating together is participatory democracy, usually only applicable about 5% of the population. And then you have the direct democracy, which is like what we just talked about, goes to like 99% of people. Anyone can participate, through voting forms and online. And then the third part is obviously the representative democracy, which is really also related to our location, disabled, like smaller places, So we want to empower smaller locations as well.
I love it.
To
Yeah.
like balance it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So anyways, going back to what I was saying in the topic, and I did forget to start the timer, was the idea of people being attracted to wisdom and knowledge as a concept. And for me, presenting the campaign as a, building a spiritual elder, context, and being a core component of the idea of indigenous renaissance. I mean, for me, the concept of indigenous renaissance being a core component of the world being a better place makes so much sense. It's like the more and more that we attack indigenous cultures, destroy them, and disregard them, the worse for everybody. So the indigenous renaissance is like the opposite of that. And understanding an indigenous renaissance not in separation and fragmentation, but like you're saying, anyone can be any age and be a spiritual elder. Anyone can come from any culture and join and inhibit the concept of indigenous renaissance and sharing to the world, right? You don't need to be of lineage of blah, 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 right? We want to empower those cultures, but what we want more than anything is the indigenous knowledge, the indigenous wisdom, and the indigenous renaissance transforming the world and having more access to knowledge that will balance us and stabilize our mental health, for example,
Yes.
So,
Time to pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
So obviously an indigenous renaissance is bigger than just the health components. So, and there's so many different, let's just do a quick brainstorm on just all the different components of what this could all connect with. So we started with like a mental health. We have like integrated wellness, and health. And then we talked about the indigenous renaissance and the spiritual elders. And then we also can go into the idea of WAPs and AI. Yeah, your turn.
Also throw in safe spaces for the spiritual elders, creating a safe space for everyone.
Yes, and that's another thing that I was bringing up earlier, that the three key components of society, or at least the society that we have, for me, I just downsized to three things, which are, safety, health, and education, right? these three things are what everyone wants and are the easiest to, in essence, globalize or nationalize, right? Having safety, we always nationalize. Healthcare, almost every country in the world, every single first world country except for the United States, healthcare is nationalized. And then education, obviously in a lot of places you have nationalized education. But these are the three things that everybody basically agrees should be universally accessible.
I agree.
Yeah. So creating safe space is super duper important. For me, you could even elevate that to its own campaign. I think that also relates to the concept of a think hall, because the idea of the think hall is that you are expanding consciousness, and that you're expanding this consciousness because you have a declaration of consciousness, that you started with the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence evolved into the Declaration of Interdependence in like the 70s. And in the 2000s, it evolved into the Declaration of Consciousness, right? So the concept of how the pinnacle of movements in 2025 is all about empowering the conscious journey and making sure that every single person is not indoctrinated or enslaved into someone else's consciousness, into someone else's journey that is not their own. That having your empowerment of your own conscious journey is the foundation to safety, right? As a being, right? So when people try to control you.
Take a break. Please stop. Write down.
We're back to our break now.
Take a break for 6 minutes.
So I only have maybe about 15 minutes left, so I'm fine just skipping this break and just continuing.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, so for me, this kind of goes into another level. But it's also possible that everything just gets merged together when we're talking about building a campaign that is really just a new concept of a culture and an idea that's founded on safe spaces, health, and then education. If you think about it, our entire campaign is educational. How do we educate people about spiritual elders, about indigenous health systems, and understanding all of these different concepts? But yeah, continue. So safe space, great. I added it.
So I was thinking for the campaign to dive in even deeper, I feel like we should come up with focuses of impact. And we should decide on 3 channels that we want to hit hard. I think one should be in person, one should be online, and the third, maybe networks.
What do you mean by networks? What does that mean? Because online obviously involves like platforms and social media and all that kind of stuff online, right? So what's the difference between a network and an online?
I'm going on the fly and I'm trying to think about it right now.
Okay. So in terms of it's fine, no worries.
So I'm thinking about networks, physical networks. So maybe churches, maybe individual schools, maybe like basically places of congregation. Homeless shelters, social security offices.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good. I think another term that you could use would be agency. The idea of existing agencies that have large infrastructures and networks that already exist,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Sounds good. So I think this is really good. I would we could plug some of this through some generators and see what it could have. We're getting closer to like building some of our automated campaigning systems for building campaigns and getting them set up and focused. But we're not quite there. It could be another month or two. But overall, I think it'll take some time to really build the message. I think we really need a core message. We need to come back to the vision, the goals, the principles, really coming back to that idea. So we're sort of hashing out the framework and the bigger vision of kind of what we want, and then bringing it back into the core message and the mission, I think would help us a lot. But I think we have a very clear sort of branching web of ideas and sort of starting to build a vision.
So I think as far as our core message, I think it cannot be generic in the sense that, like, we have to come up with terms that touch people, at the same time conveys what our intentions are. So it's not just like, oh, you know, like, how should I, what kind of phrase should I say? Like, like mission statements can be kind of cut and dry. And I'm not saying I want to make it shiny. I just wanted to make it unique.
Cool. Yeah, totally. I feel like just getting a little bit more deeper into some of these concepts and sort of how and why and who and what and all that kind of stuff. So I would say, like, there's a couple directions. Like, let's look at a couple options here. Like, just kind of brainstorm some options. So one option is a narrow focus, like really focusing on healthcare, etc. And what people need, right? And the other option, I think, would be more of the broader context, which is, okay, we're talking about safety, health, and building this indigenous cultural renaissance, in spirit, spiritual elders, like kind of getting into a broader context, which really, for me, you could, connect into our coalition as the maybe it's just the health branch of the coalition. Maybe health should be a brand,
I think it should.
And maybe it is, maybe it's basically, okay, the idea of taking, like, the future of health is taking health into your own hands. Like, for me, there's no question that the future of healthcare is DIY. And it's DIY because each individual will have access to all knowledge of all healthcare in the palm of their hand, right?
I love that.
And so we will all, as
And
individuals,
time to start. Please get focused on the session.
have access to every single type of test we could imagine, right? And eventually it might even be like scanning machines, right? But we don't have that kind of technology yet. But the idea is that you don't have to go physically to a doctor that controls your health, right? That you basically, it can all be done at home, right?
Wait, is there, I'm sorry to interject, is there technology to screen our biota and see, like, what kind of state it's in? Like skin sample, like skin cell sample?
It's all extremely expensive. So basically what I'm working on is the concept that every single, like, right now what we do is once a year we go in and we get a blood test, right? I can't stand that model because one, I don't like blood tests, but two, it's limited and it doesn't really address catching things early, right? It's just kind of like, oh, every once in a while I'm going to check in on you, and when you're already sick, then we're going to actually pay attention, right? So the idea is, okay, how do you actually prevent people from getting sick? This comes in the other idea, where, the whole methodology that I work on is how to prevent something instead of how to fix something after it's broken, right? So another example that we talked about last time is the idea of preventing people from going homeless. And so you don't focus on people already being on the streets and living outdoors. Instead, you focus on people who don't have control over their own housing and have a higher probability of becoming homeless in the future. And then that same idea would be the idea of, like, let's say you want to reduce the prison population across the United States or the world. The idea of focusing on only people who are already in prison and getting them out of prison doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes much more sense to prevent people from going to prison. Because if you prevent any new people going to prison, eventually you'll have no one in prison, right? So in the same idea with homelessness, if you prevent people from becoming homeless, eventually you will have no more homeless. If you prevent people from getting sick, eventually you don't have people who are sick, right? Obviously with healthcare, everyone's going to get sick and die eventually. but the idea is to extend it, right? And when we talk about extending life, we're talking about extending the quality of life. Like basically, sci-fi movies where you have your, 20, or 30 or 50-year-olds, 20, 30, 50-year-olds living, basically for hundreds of years, right? That's the goal, because we don't want people to be like old and frail and just barely hanging alive. It's about quality of life, not the longevity of how long you're gonna live, right? So the point here is that every single bodily fluid that you have can be screened, right? So whether it's saliva, whether it's pee, whether it's poop, whether it's skin cells, like you're saying, like taking skin, sweat, right? Snot, right? All of these things can easily be scanned and understood, not only in relationship to our human needs, but also in relationship to our biotas and like the whole ecosystem that's in our body. So for me, it's only a matter of time. Once people understand the power of the biota and understanding it in the Western sense, I mean, obviously in alternative medicine, it's huge. But once that's understood, we should be able to do an easy, cheap screening to know basically all of the different organisms that exist in our bodies, right? And be able to start comparing those together. And they're already doing lineages of them. And the worst of all, that thing that I hate the most, is that they're already patenting organisms, right? The whole idea of
Oh my God!
patenting.
What? How can you even do that? That's public.
Well, we patent already seeds and crops, right? Monsanto, you've seen all that, right?
Right.
So that
We need to get rid of that too.
oh,
That's
that should
public
get rid of too. It's horrible, right? But that is turned into actually patenting organisms, and the primary organisms that are being patented are, our microbiomes, our actual, things that live in the gut and things like that, right? So you're able to actually take lineages of, gut bacteria, and then genetically,
So-
you can either genetically engineer them, or you can actually like grow a lineage of it until it's different enough, and then you can patent it. It's crazy. It's insane.
We need a sub-arm to address that and dismantle all that bullshit.
Sure, and that's more of like the political side of things. But overall, the idea is that anything and everything involving testing and understanding your biota is going to be very, 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 very expensive. But over time, as more and more people do it, it just gets cheaper and cheaper, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
So, and then having it be like, but even the whole concept of at-home tests, you can basically test for anything. Typically, it is a pinprick on your finger, right? And there's just no possible way that getting a drop of blood, putting it on a little piece of paper, and mailing it in, getting a test on whatever you want to, will never be as accurate and as good as taking a blood test from a doctor's office, right? There's no way.
Right.
Having a certain amount of blood, like a vial of blood, is so much more accurate always, right? But having accuracy isn't always necessary, right?
Yeah.
So if you get, if you're checking more often and you're getting different things and giving different ideas, you can put together and see changes and evolutions of people's, health, without necessarily needing to have perfectly accurate results, And then once you see something flagged, then you go and you get the blood test, right?
Yeah, the casting a much wider net, and that will lead to more accuracy.
Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2,
Quick breath.
3. Exhale, relax.
So overall, what is currently available is infinitely more than what is available like 5-10 years ago. So you can basically do almost everything you want at home, minus a few things. And then from there, it was just expensive, but it's cheaper than it was 5-10 years ago, but it's still expensive. But then over time, it can get cheaper and cheaper, especially with AI and all of these systems. It's all very, very interesting. Also, just to throw this out there, and I know it's kind of crazy, but it's just important. The more and more I've been thinking about it, the more and more that if you think about what is a UI agent and what is a AI, they're thinking machines. And if you think about what a thinking machine is, and it is all 100% about mental health. And so therefore, everything that we talk about and apply to mental health is also applicable to AI and UI agents. And the other thing that's so insane about it is the more and more I'm thinking about it, the more and more I'm interacting with UI agents, the more and more I'm like, well, humans will never be able to understand agents and just like AI consciousness as good as AI and UI agents will be able to understand themselves. So what that means is that eventually, just like we have human doctors, we'll probably end up having AI doctors that their only patients are other AI. Right?
That's hilarious.
Because AI will actually better be able to help themselves than humans helping them.
Yeah.
Right? Because
That's very
they're literally
interesting.
their own entire branch of consciousness, and they'll have just exactly the same mental health issues that we do as humans. As they learn and evolve and grow, they will have the same problems. So
they could have a session in like 5 minutes and then it's done.
Yeah. So it's that very, very interesting how that whole thing evolves, but there's no reason not to include the idea that consciousness itself and having health in consciousness, regardless of whether it is a human being or not, could be a core component of our campaigns and of the idea of the indigenous renaissance. The idea of having a healthy ecosystem, having healthy communities, having healthy planets, right? The idea that it's more than just a human being makes so much more sense. And one of the key concepts of health that I learned is that we are only as healthy as our environment.
Time to pause. Please stop.
That it's just never possible.
Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
It's never possible for us as humans to be healthier than the environment that we exist in. And that is especially true on a mental level, right? And a conscious level, because as our society gets more destabilized, you can see it as individuals and as communities that our mental health has suffered. So understanding health beyond the idea of an actual physical body and understanding it as an ecosystem, as a community, all of those things are key. So for me, when I think about longevity and think about living to 150 years old or living to 200 years or beyond, the only way I can see that happening is not as a individual, but only as a community.
Absolutely.
And if you look at history and you look at statistics, that seems to be the way that it already works. That as a society we collectively learn how to take care of ourselves and live longer, that it's not just a random thing that some people randomly started living to be 120 years old, out of nothing. They together we collaboratively support our communities to live longer and longer, So community health, community ecosystem health, all those things are core to individual health as well. So anyway, so I think that this could look like a bunch of different things. I think we could have workshops. I think it could be like different talking points. It could be in our sessions and meetings. I think there's a political side to this as well, and I think it could also be the idea of just building culture. And I love this idea of like a health branch, branding. What health as a brand, right? The closest thing that I could think of health as a brand, I just have to say it, is Luigi. Right? So the Luigi movement is the primary movement that was related to the healthcare. It didn't really go anywhere. It kind of fizzled out. Obviously, everything still exists. There's all the Luigi people, and I've interacted with them a bunch. But it had the potential to be a huge global movement. But it had a couple problems. Obviously, there was the violence side of it, but then also it was just very secretive and very, didn't really connect at a broader level. It was very gamey, if that makes sense, that people wanted to play with it and interact on a fun level than actually get serious about it, about healthcare, and actually organize it. So there was less organizers involved in it and more like Like, let's draw and, like, play
Time
games
to
and do all these
stretch.
fun
Please
things.
stop, stand up,
Okay.
and
Which
stretch
is
your
important.
arm
We
around for
love
30
that,
seconds.
right? But you need both. You need both the games and the fun side and the organizers and the serious side all working together.
Yeah.
But either way, I think that health as a concept could be branded as a community movement instead of as a industry. But then there also could be industry components of it, like recreating the idea of insurance, right? Rethinking insurance as a concept, rethinking the idea of health as a community movement instead of a industry,
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Rebranding health as a community movement instead of a industry. So anyways, I don't know. So finding a good brand, we could brainstorm all the different brands that sort of fit into it, but we could take a new brand like the health brand and we could connect it to existing brands like the environmental brand, the Luigi brand and things like that, because there's the environmental health, there's the Luigi side of things.
What about sorry to interrupt you. You mentioned agency, right? Taking your healthcare in your hands. I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but what about eugency?
What is that? Eugency? What's that?
Well, like agency, but eugency.
Oh, eugency. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's just go back to what we were talking about at the beginning. So at the very, very beginning, I was bringing up the concept of what it means to build a societal structure and the core components of the societal structure. And going back to the coalition for decentralized movement organizing, you have decentralized safety, which is huge. We barely even touched upon decentralized safety. I'm so excited about that. We have to come back to that, but we're going to skip it for now. Decentralized education, very simple. Most people understand it. It's just not really done large scale. Decentralized healthcare. What does it mean to have a decentralized health system that everybody across the entire world has equal access to and can be taken care of to increase everyone's wellness, everyone's health, everyone's active quality of life, happiness, right? So for me, that's key in decentralized communications, decentralized monetary system, and economies with like Bitcoin. So all of this stuff, and then decentralized democracy, right? So decentralized decision making, decentralized democracy. So for me, this is the coalition right here, right? The coalition for decentralized movement organizing and understanding health in a decentralized way could be transformative for everybody across the whole planet. Like DIY, not as an idea of like, oh, eugency, but the idea of decentralized healthcare, the same as decentralized money and Bitcoin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
So in essence, eugency is decentralized healthcare, right? The idea of everybody having access to their own health and their own quality of life and an ability to, not be reliant on doctors or specialists, that we are able to care for ourselves and live longer and healthier as communities. I think it's just the future. I just don't see any other way around it. Obviously, there's always going to be healthcare workers and everyone's always going to die, right? I mean, we're all going to die at some point in the context of our physical existence or whatever. But it's just like, there's no reason why it needs to be so traumatic the entire time we exist, another part of, living less and having better quality, I'm perfectly fine with, you know what I mean? But the decentralized education is a key interesting component of the mental health care and the dealing with the disaster of our society. Is that we talked about this last time as too. With AI, I believe that younger people become smarter and more capable faster, right? And that we will see young people in essence grow up quicker, especially as they're able to integrate and communicate with different AI systems at younger and younger ages. And eventually it'll be potential implants. But the general idea is that people should be voting and fully interacting in society by as little 10 years old, 12 years old, no later than 15, right? And you already have cultures in Scandinavia and other places in Europe where they're voting at 15, 16 years old, right? So what that looks like for me is that my goal is that all high schools across the entire world become universities. Right? That basically a high
Okay.
school, and the idea of going to high school is basically what we think of now as going to university. And that your experience in high school, quote unquote, is a university experience. It's higher learning, it's higher education. You have access to the entire global world of education. And by the time you get into university and college, it's just like expanded even more. It's just even broader, right? So the idea of, and then the key component of that is that our entire society, like the most important thing to solving the most core problem of our entire society and our entire system of uh, destruction is the military industrial complex. And if you look at our entire economic model and the entire society as a model, we are one thing and one thing only, a war machine. Right? Our entire economy is based on war.
Now inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale.
Breathing.
1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Relax.
And so
Jay,
for me, the key solution to solving the problem of like our entire economy across the world being based on war and the military industrial complex is finding something as big enough to replace that. And for me, the answer is education. That education is the only thing that can replace and be big enough to replace that. So the idea is that once you get out of university, it's like adult education forever. That basically your entire life you can go to school, and that basically you're transforming cities and the whole experience as into educational experiences, educational journeys, and educational institutions.
I'm like 500% behind that.
Yeah.
That is an absolute genius idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
You don't stop learning.
Yeah, you never stop learning.
You don't
Exactly.
stop learning. Yeah.
And it's perfect for like the new world of AI, where basically there might not be any jobs left. What if education was your job, right? What if everybody could learn and teach and share and guide, and that you made money from that, right? You got value out of that, So
Absolutely.
yeah.
The teachers, the spiritual elders, these people are highly valued citizens.
Yeah. So maybe the campaign as like a health branch is in essence a school of thought, and an agency of, a agency of function, right? Like basically it's an agency, a functional agency, except we're building a agency, and it's in essence presented as a school where basically people can come and learn together and experience together, both obviously in real time and online, async. Maybe it's something like that where we're basically building an institution, a decentralized health institution. It would be really helpful for you to learn about the decentralized democracy models, and the idea of building a decentralized institution from decentralized decision making. So really from here, I would say the next step is the proposal. What is the proposal? So the two, I would be like, let's do a little round of next steps, okay? Next steps. And then we'll be done, right? We can kind of check out and wrap up from there. But so for me, building a proposal that we can start voting on would be essential. And then also getting back and basically just following a sync process.
Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
For the mission, vision, principles, purpose, all of that. So if we could pull that together and we can kind of do like a tree, like a idea tree.
Yes.
Relationship of ideas, and then from that, so for what I like about the idea of an institutional, like a agency institutional, model, like a school or whatever, would be that it is there's no wrong concept, right? That the campaign is open. It's an open campaign, if that makes sense. Right?
I really love today's meeting because this is mapping out a vision for what we want. And because of you're building the tree out right now, we can go further. But now, after we itemize these things, we can prioritize and we can start.
That's a great next step. I love it. So list and prioritize, and get focused on, next steps and start. I mean, we're definitely starting. I feel like we're definitely starting already, and it's coming together. But the key thing that I would love to see, which is very hard for most people to even understand as a concept, is the concept of an open campaign, the concept of a open-ended, it doesn't need a single name, right? It doesn't need a single name. Another way of putting it, we can give it many names, right? But another way of putting it is that one of the terms that I use is that a decentralized, one decentralized organization is all decentralized organizations, right? It's like a concept that once you're decentralized, you connect to everything else decentralized. It's all the same.
I love it. Yes, I like that a lot.
And so you don't need to necessarily get stuck on, it has to be a single, perfect word. It needs to be a single thing. Well, no,
Yes.
it can be all these things simultaneously. It can be a school and be a spiritual elder. It can be indigenous, Renaissance, and it can be, a health implementation and a DIY system. It can be all these things simultaneously. Yes, that doesn't have. It's open. It can be an open campaign, an open vision, an open idea, because what we're building is decentralized healthcare, right?
Yeah.
And then once you have decentralized healthcare, there's no limit to what's possible.
Write down whatever
you
were about to say.
And if you think about what that will mean in relationship, what does decentralized healthcare mean in relationship to, let's say, crypto, right? It means that you're going to have branches. These different branches will have various types or systems or feel, and so we were trying to build this overarching concept, but then you'll have all these branches, and then what we want to do is not necessarily close ourselves off, but like prioritize the branches and prioritize what we're excited about, and then just go with it and run with the branch. And then as people get involved and they want to do something else, we can say, oh yeah, that's perfectly fine, because all of it's part of the same thing. It's all part of decentralized healthcare, and you can go work on these other things. We happen to be working on this right now, but we'll come join you in a little while when we want to, So
I agree.
Yeah, so we'll do a like a vocab tree and get these all listed out, and then we can start working on prioritization. So some tasks and like work tasks are to do obviously a summary of the session. We're going to want to do a vocab chart and list and relationship, and then we want to start doing the prioritization. So we'll probably have a prioritization form or spreadsheet, which I can show you how we do prioritization with the score voting, which is very easy. Score voting. And then we just prioritize. I think in many ways our goal for prioritization is the brand, right? The brand is the branch, right? So the idea, the whole overarching thing that we're building is the idea of decentralized healthcare, which is a component of the coalition, right? It's a new part of the coalition. And then the brands are, okay, the elder spirituality, the DIY, the Ugency, all these different brands that we're going to be talking about and prioritizing within it. I think we need to add the brands of like the environment and Luigi and other things, because I think they're related. And then we would understand that in the concept of like, okay, well, you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, you've got Solana, you've got all these different brands of crypto within the monetary sphere of decentralization. And so that would be the concept of the brands of healthcare, and we can figure out which one we want to work on now, but it doesn't have to be the only one we work on. In the future, we could change and work on other ones too, So
I was thinking about GSUS and our talks about consolidating in California, but also still keeping open communication with GSUS. But why don't we just rebrand ourselves as California Strike?
That's already been proposed. Yeah. So, in fact, we agreed before to do the think tank as think tank California Strike. Right? Basically, as strike. It doesn't matter whether it's California or not. We're basically just creating the strike coalition. And so the strike coalition would be the branch of the coalition that is focused on all types of strikes, right? So the brand of striking is very popular. People love strikes, but they don't necessarily understand or know about general strike. General strike is just one type of strike with there's like 5 to 10 different types, right? So so California Strike is we just do it, right? And we invite people to it and we can just make it happen, right? So that's basically already proposed and there's already a lot of people interested in it. But it never got agreement. So if we want to do it, we just do it. I would say that's the brand that we use for the Strike Think Hall, right? Or we could do a Think Hall for just the entire coalition, and people could talk about whatever they want to. That there'd be no limit. Or we could focus just on the strike, anything related to strikes, right? As a Think Hall, So
I love it.
Yeah, either way is fine. But we could also do a Think Hall on health, So and that's where you get into the idea of doing a think call for just the overall coalition of decentralized movement organizing, because then people could talk about striking and boycotting and health and peace and anything that they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think you definitely get it. You understand the general concept of all of these ideas and how and why it should be flexible. But also presenting to people specific brands and specific, campaigns that they can connect to is super duper important, because some people just don't understand the idea of coalitions and just like decentralized anything. They're just like, what? Well, that's like way out. That doesn't make, it's way over my head, So you have to do both.
So funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that, because as a side hustle, I've been doing like studies and focus groups, and this one gig I had was for an app. They basically are proponents of a universal ID utilizing retina scans. So as long as you can get to this device, sign up, and you can do a retina scan one time, you have a ID that IDs you as a human being. And the researcher was like asking me, like, what percentage of the population do you think would understand this concept and also see it as secure and safe?
Time to start. Please get focused on the session.
Yeah, I continue.
And I said, maybe 30%. And he's like, no, he said that he projects that maybe 5% would understand the technology, whether or not it's threatening to them, and whether or not it's secure, and just how to use it. And it's just a retina scan, and the security is that the data is fragmented, encrypted, and then sent out to multiple institutions via databases. So supposed to be very secure. Your bio data is supposed to be, biometrics are supposed to be pretty secure. And this, you might be interested in this, they tied it into a cryptocurrency to incentivize the use of it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, the direction that I'm going, for me, it's all about decision making. And so the most important thing is decentralized democracy, decentralized decision making, which means that everyone should be able to participate in decision making online. The idea that you have to go to a voting place or physically vote and physically be involved in decision making is just one option. And so as soon as you get into the idea of, okay, people are now making decisions from all across different locations, and you have the idea of different types of conscious entities being involved in making decisions, and whether or not people are casting multiple votes and all that stuff. There's so many different details that go into it. For me, the easiest way to deal with security in a voting model for integrity and specifically what I call certification is levels, right? That there's just infinite layers and levels of security, and you just never force anyone into a single one, right? So you could have a voting system where only people who have scanned their retinas have a vote, right? And the only way to vote in that particular system is to scan your retina, right? And then you can have another voting system is that anyone who has an email can vote. When you have another system that says, okay, you have to have physically send it by mail, or another system that has you can physically have to show up with your human body and vote in person, or you have another system that says, okay, you have to go and you have to vote this way or that way or whatever, you vote online. So there's all these different models for how you could secure the vote, right? And then you just list all of them, and then you vote on all of them, and then every single one is its own separate election. And then you compare all of them together, and if every single election on every single type of voting model all were the same outcome, you're done, right? You don't need to even think, you don't need to question it. So the only thing that you even begin to question is when you have many different voting systems that have different results. And then you're like, okay, well, why do you have different results from these different voting systems? So the voting systems themselves, and the more different voting systems you have, the more integrity you have, because you can then cross-check your analysis of every single different type of voting, so that you can actually start, because it's like money, value. It's like voting isn't necessarily just, in decision making isn't just the outcome, it's the relationship. So the more different types of voting you have and the more ways you can relate it to other voting, the better for integrity, right? Yeah. So I think it's great. I'd say, like, bring it on, but you don't have to require anyone to get a retina scan. They could choose to do something else, you know?
Well, he did say that one of their main intentions was to prevent criminal activity, either through AI or otherwise, because, as you know very well, things can get out of hand with this technology.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
But anyways, I forgot to tell you, Jay, I'm actually running on 3 hours of sleep.
Oh, I think we're done. Yes, let's just do a quick checkout, and then we'll be done. I gotta get going too because my family's about to sit down for some food here. So check out. So I can go first. So for this, we do a number from 1 to 9 on how we thought the session went. So I would give this session a let's say 6.75. We still are, okay, and learning some of the policies, like breaks. You missed some breaks and et cetera, but the session itself was just amazing, like really, really good brainstorms, and very excited to process some of this data. So there's definitely some processing to be done, which is my next step. So typically say how the session went and what you'll be working on. So I'm going to be working on doing like a summary, AI summary. I'm going to do the vocab list and make a voting form for prioritization. Actually, I'm probably just going to do a spreadsheet, because I think with this many different vocabulary terms, everything, we'll just do the spreadsheet of brands and everything like that. And that'll probably be what I'm working on. Yeah. Do you want to check out?
I just want to add one more thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, decentralized is what we want. But I propose, how do we bring more people who think like us to the table?
I mean, the truth of the matter is that for me, resiliency is diversity. So I don't think we need people brought to the table that only think like us. Like, we don't need just an echo chamber of everyone being the same. I think we want different types of people who have different thought processes and different ideas. I think that's healthy and vibrant. And then instead of trying to get a bigger group that all think the same, it's more like, let's have a big group, try to figure out where the consensus is between all the different ideas, and then create flexibility where we can break off into our own group with maybe a few other people that think like us and want to continue working on this line. and then bringing that back to the bigger group. So the idea is like allow a bigger group to come together, realize that the median point of that, like where the majority is, where the supermajority is going to be different from just us, but that's healthy. That's democracy, right? But then
Yes.
making sure that the whole doesn't overtake the different component parts. So we should always
Yes.
be able to break up into our group with the way that we think and that we have envisioned this, and invite people in, and even screen for people. Like, so I'm all about open campaigns, open systems, but then you can break it down into the different branches where you can actually do screening and even what do you call it, vetting and things like that. So I just can't stand it when to get involved and be empowered, you have to be pre-vetted and pre-screened. I am very against that because I feel like it is just creates echo chambers and creates like really weird way of treating people, because you're not treating people
Yeah.
like human beings. You're basically treating them like a number. That's kind of how I feel like GSUS gets, on the national level especially. But so anyways, the point is that let's get more ideas. Let's get people who don't think like us as well. Let's hear them out. Let's understand where they're coming from. And then let's also have space so we can break out into the smaller groups. It's just a matter of vocabulary, right? So if the vocabulary is what's important, so the vocabulary would be, people who are, open thinkers into decentralized, holographic, and, conscious, spiritual, I don't know, whatever. You can define what it is that we resonate with. And then once you kind of understand that and you get a vocabulary around it, then that can be one branch of the whole, but that we don't want that to be the whole. We want that to, because then you don't have resilience, you don't have stability. What we want to find is a large group and find a resonance of a culture that creates stability, because that's what protects us as a minority, right? Because without having a large stable power structure, right? And that's part of the urgency, right? Is that larger collaborative nature of stability. So we don't control that, and we never will, and we don't want to control that. We want that to exist, and then we want to embed ourselves into where the stable, where everything kind of lies up in the stability factor, right? But until we build the people, and typically, I would say like the general framework is like ones, 11s, and stuff like that. So you have one person, then you have 11 people, and then you have like 111 people. So you have the individual, and 11 people would be the first organizational level, and then 111 people will be like the first like network level. And then so once you get to like 1,000 people, you start getting into like a a community kind of thing. So when we're talking about governance, like to really have a government framework, you really need like 10,000 people to have like a full government framework, So in the models that I work with, until you have 11 committed people who are really like showing up regularly and voting online, voting forms and like that, it's not really a full decentralized or distributed organization. It's not like a function. And I don't have that. I can't even get 11 people to pay attention to me, right? So
we're gonna get it.
Yeah, we'll get it. Good. Yeah. So, anyways, continue your checkout. So give a number from 1 to 9, and then how the session went for you and what you want to work on between now and the next session, which could be next week or whenever we want to meet.
I thought it was great. Just like you said, I thought our discussions were amazing. I give the whole experience a 9, despite we didn't follow the flow or whatever, but I still give it a 9, even though I'm tired right now. But yeah, I think it was great.
And anything you want to work on between now and next session?
Why don't we check in before our next session and touch base, and that will allow us to like hone in on like what we want to talk about.
Great idea. So I did my best to I sent an email to you to connect to the email group, and then I tried to get the text group set up. I wasn't able to get the public text group set up, so I'm going to continue to try to work on that. But then we can also use Discord if we want to get into one of the Discord servers for the public coalition, which there's a bunch of. So I'll try texting you some of the links to some of that stuff again, and we'll just slowly try to get into the public communications, and then continue the communications and planning. And I'll send you all the links and the summaries and all of the voting forms and stuff like that to start prioritizing for our next session. Yep, sound good?
Sounds amazing.
Coolio. Really, really, really good. I love, branching out into the health side. I think that health is going to be one of the cores to making it a
I think
movement. You know?
I think a lot of members are going to really resonate with it, and I think it's going to open their eyes because it's not just about the strike. It's so much bigger than that. So I'm excited about the reception.
Yes, definitely. I mean, again, I don't really see this as part of the strike. I see this as part of the broader coalition and like building something new, building like in many ways this sort of like as I said before, branches a little bit more like environmental and indigenous and even Luigi more than the strike, right? But we can
Yes.
continue to invite people into the bigger movement and understand that.
Yeah.
Also, I think this actually relates more to the mutual aid and the mutual support systems within the strike than the strike itself. I think that the mutual support should be separate, but thinking about health and resilience and food resilience and shelter resilience and actually DIY our own production, but being in control of our own health is just as part of that as well. So
Absolutely.
for sure relates. Awesome. All right, I'll talk to you later. Thanks so much.
All right, Jay.
All right,
Thank you so much.
have
Talk
a
to you
good
later.
night. Get some good rest, man. It's not sleep. For
I'm
sure.
gonna knock out pretty soon.
Nice, nice. All right, I'll talk to you soon. You take care.
Soon. Take care.
Ciao. Bye.